I'm sorry. I'll get that afterwards. Good evening. I hope that this night finds you well. I'm a couple minutes early. I just thought I would set up space. There is a gentleman named Master Stephen Coe who teaches meditations and pranic healing. I thoroughly enjoy him. I enjoy his meditations, which he's doing for free right now, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, twice a day. For Texas, it would be 12 o'clock and 8 p.m. He's on the Pacific coast. I like him because he's no holds barred. He doesn't walk on eggshells. You either like him or you don't. He's been on this path for 30 years, at least. His story is very interesting. His wife fell from a ladder about 14, 15 feet up in the air and landed on concrete. She smashed her hip, broke it. And the doctors said it would be about 5-6 weeks before she'd ever walk again. You know, beginning her recovery back, which would have meant, all that painful rehabilitation. And being an engineer with a very logical mind and everything was mathematical and blah, 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 he wouldn't accept that. And so I believe he was in the Philippines. He went to a gentleman who back then, Master Chol Sui, it's a mouthful for me to say, Master Chua was teaching a class on the pranic healing, and he himself was full of doubt and skepticism and everything else because he had the scientific mind. But he also believed that it was not so cut and dry that this was the way it was going to be, and he just had to deal with it. So he took the class, he learned things. He was not a very good student, he admits it. But even though he wasn't a good student, he was the best student he could be at the time, and he learned volumes. And through his learning the process and the basics and everything, which led him on to want to continue in depth in his studies. The cut and dry of it was his wife started to walk in about 2.5 weeks from him doing daily, and if I remember correctly, he did it several times through the day. He would go and do little bits of this energy work. Even though he didn't understand or believe in the concept of this spiritual healing, he still had faith. And probably he wanted to believe that there had to be something more, because it was just unacceptable that she would be stuck there in pain, laying for 5-6 weeks. So anyway, as he puts it, about 2.5 weeks she started walking, and a few weeks after that she was actually able to run. And the hips are, including the pelvis, that's thick bone, and 30 years ago, so she had to have been young. I would say, easily in her 20s, early. So, anywho, his first 4 years of study, he started teaching it. And he's one of the first to tell you that he couldn't even feel or sense any of the energy. He just knew the steps, knew the motions, knew the procedures. And so he performed them. But I would definitely suggest go check him out. Tuesdays and Thursdays, he's also doing twice a day. Excuse me. And he is also, he just started last week, I guess, doing this to help heal the planet, to heal the country, to heal, just like what the Silent Minute is about. I get a kick out of him because he's just kind of irascible. And if he's been doing this for 30 years, he had to have been young, because he doesn't look like he's over 40. I know he is, but you get the gist. So anyway, he's somebody that I highly recommend. And he's very, I want to say religious. He was Catholic, but he has such a broader understanding. He speaks tonight. I like to sit in on his before coming here because then I'm already in a nice space, and participate in the meditation. You can be anywhere from 100 people to 300-400 people that are watching him and participating. And these are people all over the world. When I'm watching the chat, there's from India and Australia, New Zealand, South America, Italy, Germany, the Netherlands, you name it. Of course, the United States, Alaska, Hawaii. So his is a worldwide reach. And you can only benefit. Two others that I wholly support and admire and respect. One gentleman is Dr. Bruce Lipton. And you can find one of his original lectures. What is it called? The Biology of Belief, or the New Biology. Now, the lectures, there's like a part 1 and a part 2, and I think there's even a part 3. This was from a full-blown lecture, so it's several hours long, broken down into about an hour and 15 each. And he has some eye-opening information that paints our being in a totally different light, which I think is wonderful because now you're armed with knowledge about yourself and what your body's capable of doing. And one of the things, aside from the fact that I love his energy, he talks so quickly and he's exuberant and just amazing. If you can't remember Dr. Bruce Lipton, just think of Dr. and Lipton iced tea and you'll find him. And he's got many channels, I believe, and people share him all over. He has been doing for 20 years or longer videos and presentations at some of the different retreats, but global awareness, like when the Native American grandmothers went down to Australia, and it was all about prayer and healing the planet and healing mankind. He spoke there. He's spoken at many energy conferences. I don't mean electricity energy, but the positive energy, the flow, the law of attraction, all of that fits into what he teaches. Fascinating is that he is one of 3 scientists back in the 60s that were the only ones allowed to study and research stem cells. That's something that we hear about a lot. But what is that, 60 years ago? He taught, I think it was at Cambridge or Columbia University, I don't remember what, but he taught medicine. And through his stem cell research, he learned things contrary to what he was trying to prove, which in the long run it upset his medical community because he was changing the dynamics of medicine, of what was being taught. And he said that he was teaching it wrong. So look for him. And then my other favorite that I dearly love to meditate with and work through and work with is Dr. Joe Dispenza. Just think of a dispenser. And he's a lovely soul. Full of heart, full of knowledge. This man has science to back up everything that he has done and is doing, everything that he's teaching people how to heal their bodies. I want to go to one of his retreats. And they're 5 to 7 days. They're not cheap. I'm going to have to start a GoFundMe or something. But they will take brain scans for people. Obviously not everybody, because they may have, 500 people there or 1,000 people there. But select people, they'll take brain scans. And then at the end of it, they'll take brain scans again to see the changes when they're going through these meditations. And there's walking meditations, there's laying down meditations, there's seated meditations. There's trust building activities, things that really cause you to step outside of your comfort zone. And one of the things that I have found amazing is that in their research, they've taken people with MS who have the scar tissue on the brain or lesions, even brain tumors and other diseases. And at the end of the event, the lesions are gone or almost all gone, or the tumors have vanished. Most of them have vanished. Speaking of people who came in on crutches and left without crutches, other people who came in with their canes and whatnot and were moving more freely. One of the ones that I enjoyed was that a gentleman came with his wife, and he was only kind of there begrudgingly, but he still participated. And he had trouble hearing, profound hearing loss, I guess. But during one of the days and participating in this, he didn't even realize until his wife said something, and he contradicted her or corrected her, really. And she was shocked because he heard her. And I just thought that was amazing. The hope that this fills my heart up with, of people learning that they have the tools, that they have the means to connect to source, to God, whatever belief system, to make that cohesive. I don't know what I want to say here, but a blending, pulling it together and being able to fix what was deemed unfixable. He himself, back in 84, I think it was, had an accident that left him paralyzed, and being stuck, suspended face down, what they were going to do was shave all the spinous processes, the bone ridge down the back, shave that off, and then put a reticulated plating. That was the only thing that they felt would get him to even be able to sit up, let alone stand. But he decided no. He was a chiropractor at the time. He has since gone on to be deemed a neuroscientist. He has studied and worked for the last 30 years, becoming more than just a chiropractor. But you would be amazed at what chiropractors know. But anyway, I digress. Um, so after basically being crushed by an SUV and knowing what he did know at that time, that we can think ourselves sick, we can believe. Oh, I must be getting sick. And it's just a tickle. Our body does strange things when it wants to. One story that I feel profound is of a truck driver who went into the back of the trailer, and he was doing something inside the trailer, the 18-wheeler trailer, and either somebody closed the door and locked it, or the wind came, and when it slammed shut, it dropped the bar, but he was locked in there. And so in his mind, he knew he was inside a refrigerated trailer, right? But his panic and everything, he started to think that it was cold and that he would die in there because it was cold. And so as time progressed through the night into the morning and such, he was writing in the dirt messages about being cold and freezing, and that he knew he was going to die, and da 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 da. So come morning, when they opened the door, they did find him having died, and the autopsy showed that it was due to the cold. My mind is losing the word I want. Hypothermia. And so the interesting part about it is that refrigerator on the trailer hadn't worked in years. So there was no cold. But he believed, and his body took that belief because he felt it. He felt it in his heart, he felt it in his gut, he felt it, and he just knew. And so he made himself sick. The human body is fascinating. Another person you may want to look up is Morris Goodman. They call him the Miracle Man. Also somewhere in the 80s. He had a personal plane. I think it was just a little biplane, or Cessna. Excuse me. And he crashed around Austin. Everything was shattered. His larynx was gone, diaphragm, his spinal cord crushed, hips. They were surprised he was alive. But in the hospital, while he's laying there, the doctor is talking to the nurses, and the doctor deems him as he's just going to be a vegetable, and that's it. And that's what you'll need to just accept. A young nurse that had just been transferred to that hospital, or to that area, that ward, was noticing some interesting reactions from Mr. Goodman laying there. And she pointed it out to the doctor, and the doctor was like, no. So she did kind of an experiment, and she asked him, can you hear me? Blink once for yes, twice for no. Or the other way around, who knows. But anyway, so he responded. And then she asked him to make sure it wasn't a fluke, is your name Morris Goodman? And he responded yes. And through that beginning and alerting the doctor to, hey, this man hears every word you're saying. He's not a vegetable. His brain is fully functioning. He's aware of everything. they were able to dialogue with him through a alphabet sheet, and she'd point to a letter, and he'd, or point to the row, and he'd either yes or no if it was the letter was in the row. So this was around March, I believe, and he told them flat out, "I will walk out of here by Christmas." And so he had many milestones over the months in the hospital. They all just give it up. You're going to be stuck there with tubes in you and things breathing for you and food being fed through you by tubes to keep you alive. And he did. Come Christmas, he he wasn't motoring full well, but he rose up out of that wheelchair and he took several steps out the door of the hospital. And he's a motivational speaker now, and he tells the story all over the world on how he realized the only thing he had was his mind. And so he kept seeing himself walking. He kept seeing himself swallowing. He kept seeing himself taking that first breath. He kept seeing all of these moments, and they came to pass. So it was really good that I stumbled upon him 15 years ago. Now, if any of you have seen the movie The Secret, he's in that. And so is Dr. Joe, by the way. I don't remember if Dr. Bruce is in there or not. I've studied with Dr. Joe Vitale, who was also in that, The Secret. Studied with him for a couple of years. But I've gone past the 9 o'clock minute because I've been waiting for people to show up. But that's all right. We are going to continue. I want to share with you something that I heard tonight. Whereby idols fall and hearts sink low. Trust your heart's faith to guide you. Simple men do great things when their gods call upon them. Believe, be strong, be one. Let not a voice be silent still, yet whispers in the dark. Be unafraid, be vigilant. Your faith will guide you. A candle's flame pierces the heart of darkness, and from the tiny ember grows a brilliant flame to follow. Hope is my word for tonight. So 15 minutes into the hour, I think now is a good time to hold yourself in golden light and see the planet, see the country, whatever country you're in. See it encased in this beautiful gold light of healing, of hope, of unity, of strength and courage. Let our voices and our hearts and souls be one. Bless our first responders, our military. Bless those who protect us, who fight for us, who give their lives without even knowing us, that we may have freedom, that we may sit unafraid in the dark, and that our love becomes that bright flame that they can follow home. Slowly, gently, come on back. Thank you for being here with me. Sharing space and sharing grace. If there's anyone you know of who needs healing, whether it's healing a wounded heart, an ailment, or a mindset of fear and doubt, hold them. Hold them in your heart. See them before you and bathe them with your love and golden light. And I give thanks. And love. Have a good night. Be blessed. Mitakoye washu. Aho.